Well, it depends on how you measure success. If you measure success by degrading ISIS and by getting into a prolonged war with ISIS, then perhaps we will be. But the overall strategy is flawed. The first part of that strategy might work, which is to degrade ISIS through bombing. But after that, we are depending in Iraq on an army that does not exist yet, on a National Guard that has to be built on a provincial level. And in Syria, what we're trying to do is put together some sort of force of 5,000 fighters. Now, already there are 120,000 fighters on the ground in Syria. We're not going to make a dent by doing this, and it's going to take a long time to put together a competent force anyway.
Okay, if that is the case, what needs to be done in your view? What could the US and its allies, what could the coalition be doing better?
Well, for one thing, the Americans, I think, have, or let's put it this way, Obama has made the exact same mistake that George W. Bush made. When George W. Bush made this, the al-Qaeda into an existential threat against the United States. The Islamic State is not an existential threat against the United States, and it's going to be a long time before it is. It is a relatively weak organization. But what we have to do is mobilize the regional forces that will be able to do that. And that means, of course, pushing further for reform in Iraq, and also trying to figure out a way of involving more of our so-called Arab allies in the fight and taking the lead in the fight.
Well, that's a very good point, because I think at this point, you know, we're really seeing the US want to stand back from actually putting boots on the ground. When you're saying mobilizing forces, it sounds almost like that's what you think is needed.
Oh, it's absolutely what's going to be needed, but those boots on the ground are probably not going to come from the United States. But what they might come from is from the Arab League, for example, or from specific members of the Arab League that are very interested in their own security, their own safety. I mean, you have to remember that the southern border of Iraq is Saudi Arabia. The Saudis are not particularly interested in being overrun by the Islamic State. There's also Jordan to consider as well, which borders on Syria. So what we have is a potential a coalition that could actually step up to the plate, but whether or not they're going to do that or not is, you know, a real question. And as long as the United States is prepared to take the lead, the longer that they are going to be prepared just to follow.
So what you're suggesting then, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, is the US actually needs to take a step back and let countries like Saudi Arabia step up to take the lead.
I agree. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think that, you know, fundamentally, the United States, as I said, is overplaying the danger that comes to it from the Islamic State. And I think that the real danger from the Islamic State actually comes to territorial control over places like Iraq, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and places like that.